Right, okay. So thanks for coming on the podcast. Obviously, it's Training Wheels, and the idea and premise behind it is that we're interviewing coaches, athletes, businesses, people within the sort of fitness industry, mainly bodybuilding. However, you know, we're likely to go into sort of any sort of weightlifting related stuff moving forward. And we're asking people like questions and information about, number one, how they got to where they are, the route progression that they use to sort of attain their level or status, that sort of thing, but also their goals in the next 5 years, and, you know, some other random questions. We've got to try and get a bit of funny content in there, but the majority of it is trying to help people like me and Jason that are just joining into the bodybuilding world understand that there's more than one way to skin a cat, basically.
Oh yeah, it's millions. And I've explored most of them and fucked them all up.
Okay, so we've got a list of questions. Jason, if you want to start with yours, and then
we'll all right. Aaron, what got you interested in bodybuilding in general, and basically what got you started in with the gym and kind of working out and stuff like that?
Bodybuilding, I kind of I fell into it. Literally, I think I was nearly 20, and a couple of friends one day said, "Should we just go to the gym?" I was like, "Yeah, right, okay." I've never been before, but went and just carried on going. I think I spent 18 months messing around with treadmills and bicep machines and not really giving too much of a shit. And then I responded quite well to training, and I was getting people in the gym sort of saying, "Oh, you know, you're going to compete," you know. I didn't have a clue what any of it was about, and it got to the point as well where I was getting accused of using steroids, and I hadn't got a clue. I didn't know anything about it. What was quite cool was one guy, I can't remember his name, one of the old boys, and by old I mean like 40s, 50s, you know, he'd been around a while, gave me a DVD, and he said, "Watch that, you'd enjoy that." Okay, and it was Jay Cutler, New, Improved and Beyond, and I was in awe. I was like, "Wow, this guy's living the dream." He lives over in, you know, over on the west coast of the States. He's blonde. He's got a good looking missus. He's, you know, slick back. I thought, this is cool as fuck. He's jacked. I thought, this is cool as fuck. And it just went from there. It just kind of snowballed. And then as far as competing goes, I was in the gym, another gym. This is about 2-3 years in. And there was a guy in there sort of training, and he got a West Midlands Fire Service badge on. Now, my uncle and my ex's uncle were in the fire service, and I'd done some work with West Midlands Fire Service. So I was in there by myself, and he was, and I struck a bit of a conversation. And he left his number. It's really creepy. He left his number behind the counter at the gym and said, "Get that kid to give me a call." And I'll never forget, I was feeding my eldest son's 11 next month. And I was bottle feeding my eldest son. I called this number, and I called him, and we were talking. He says, "Have you ever thought about competing?" And I was like, "No." You know, he was like, "Oh, you've got a gift." And I was like, "Right, okay." He says, "You should think about competing." So, right, okay. And we met up in the gym, and he took me through like how to train properly and how he dieted and all the rest. And I found out he sort of back in the 90s, like early 90s, you know, the Dorian's era. He owned a number of gyms in the area. You know, he was a very successful national level competitor, and we went to the NABA England in 2010, and because I've never been to a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
And went and had a look, and I was kind of like scoping out the competition, and then I spent that year sort of getting ready for this show, just trying to, you know, get bigger, you know, learn how to train properly, and that it was almost like a 12-month sort of crash course on how to bodybuild. And then I got on stage the following year at the NABA England, and that was it really. That was 10 years ago, and
yeah.
I know it's sad, isn't it? I'm like this old fucking. I'm 33, and I feel like I've been doing this for like 100 years already. But that's how it went. That was a guy called Steve Lewis, and without Steve, he told me how he taught me how to train is how I still train now, as in 12 sets. So the idea was that you have 12 sets per workout, per body part, and it's typical 6-day-a-week bro split. And everybody's into this push-pull legs and upper and lower and all this fancy bullshit. It was chest, legs, so chest, quads, back, you know, and so on and so forth. And you had 12 sets per per session. The idea was it was four exercises and 3 sets, or 3 exercises and 4 sets. And the idea was trash the muscle. In that you had 12 sets, get in, get out. That's it, job done. And it worked, responded, and that was it really. I just got addicted. And as you'll find out when you compete yourself.
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, you're probably the first person we've had on that has sort of said, yeah, I've trained bro split, always have, and that sort of thing. Because most people have sort of delved in and out of the sort of push pull. I mean, I'm doing upper low at the moment, and yeah,
I've done it. I did it. I've done push pull legs. I can't recover, and I can't recover if I train to the capacity that. Because I train to fail. The phrase was aim to fail. So the idea is you want to fail on every single set. None of these sort of reps in reserve or reverse or whatever it is. It's just fucking go for it. If you've got more at the end of the set, do some negatives, do some drop, hit a few drop sets on your last set of that exercise. And I've dabbled in push pull legs, but I couldn't. I trained chest, and I trained failure, and I was like, I've got the shoulders now. I was like, what the fuck? Like, maybe it's not bad towards the end of a contest prep, whereby you sort of not going balls out and you haven't got the energy to. But I just couldn't train off season and to grow. I was like, there's no point doing a body part twice a week badly if I can do it once well. And it's different shades for different people, and it's whatever works for you. But that's just always what worked for me. And that was it. So
I think that's where a lot of people get mixed up with the body part split or bro split to upper lower push pull legs, because if you're gaining and if you're making progress on the bro split, then why would you change it? Like,
it's working. Yeah. Everybody's looking for that magic bullet. Everybody's looking for that. This is the cycle. This is the diet. This is the train. And it's not that way. At the end of the day, muscle doesn't give a shit about, weight. It doesn't give a shit about, I was lifting this much last week and I'm lifting this much this week. I should be getting bigger, progressive overload or any of that business. The body responds to resistance and stress. So for me, I just think if you're in the gym, and let's just say last week you chest pressed, the 100-pound dumbbells, and then next week you had a bad night's sleep because your kid was up shitting himself or being sick or whatever. You haven't slept properly, you haven't eaten properly yet, you're not hydrated, and you can only say do the 80-pound dumbbells this week. Most people will be like, they want to shoot themselves. And I'm like, well, you've done what you can on that day. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Just do what you can there and then in that moment. If you can go heavy, some weeks you can go heavier, some weeks you've got to pull back. Just listen to the body. The body's always telling you something. And that's where I think I went wrong doing this, but people, they stick to the path, and sometimes you can't,
I've done that because I work in care. So like I've came off a 12-hour shift, went to do legs, and my hack's been like 20 kilo lighter than what it was the previous session. And it's like, it pisses you off, but then I do go, well, I just done a full shift in 24-degree heat. I'm shattered. So then there's reasons for not performing, kind of thing.
And that's it. It's not we're not strong men. We're not judged on what we lifted. You can't. Excuse me. What Steve always said was, he said, it doesn't matter what you weigh. It doesn't matter what you bench press. It doesn't matter what you squat. You can't stand on stage and shout to the judges, why am I second or third? I benched 4 plates aside or whatever. They don't give a shit. They look at what's there. And this is what, it's silly training beyond your means, because if you get injured, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If the judges judge what they can see. So to me, chasing a logbook or chasing a number didn't make any sense. And more to the point, it knackers your joints. There's the risk of injury. I just think, do what you can, don't get injured, stay healthy, recover. What more can you do?
It's definitely a more enjoyable way of training as well, isn't it? Going in there and that's feeling the pump and the strain.
And that's the thing as well. So many people that they're obsessed by the numbers and they're not enjoying what they're doing. It's like, I understand the need for a coach, as in you don't know what you're doing, or you need some guidance, or you need a second pair of eyes. But if you need to be taught how to train, you're missing the whole point. The training part is the fun part. That's the part where we in the gym, we let rip, we enjoy ourselves, and hopefully there's a few endorphins been released. But everybody's so hooked on this. I've got to perform better than last week, or I've got to do more reps. It's just you're missing the big picture, But hey, as I say, whatever works for you. But that's just what always worked for me. Not saying I'm the best.
It is. Jason, I don't know if you agree. It's pretty interesting because, like, I quite like, you know, the J cut the way of training, which is lighter with more reps, that sort of thing. I enjoy that the most, but I always feel that doing progressive overload for me has been, I've grown the most amount of muscle with progressive overload. But listening and seeing that, you know, how big you've been and whatever, and how far you've gone doing that way of training, it is possible. And I've always, like, I know people say, yeah, you know, there's different ways of training, different things you can do and whatnot, but never truly believe it. Like, they always believe in their method being the correct one. But it's nice to see that it does work. You can do it that way. And
I mean, Jake, I mean, I've met Jay Cutler a few times, and he's this going back to the DVD. I've met Jay Cutler a few times when he's been in the UK, and he's sound as fuck. Like, he's the nicest guy in the world. And and it's like, I was sort of like thinking, they always say never meet your idols, but I met mine, and he was a legend. And I was like, but even speaking to him, it was like, that's just the way he worked. And he'd be in the gym for, you know, a lot longer than I would or ever was. And like, I'd be bored. What's the point? I'd be bored and be blown at my arse. I want to get in, get the work done, and get out. That's all I want to do. You know, I'm not sort of Mike Mensa where I'm doing like one set or whatever, but I'm not doing sort of like, not doing cardio with weights. So
you do warm-up sets. So obviously you said 12 sets, you know, per body bar per week.
The 12 sets are in that. So your first 2 sets on your first exercise is your warm-up, and I will stretch in between sets. I mean, that's one thing as well that I think a lot of bodybuilders don't do. They don't stretch, and they're not very flexible. I mean, I am quite flexible, especially for my body weight. On a leg press, I'm quite well known for my knees literally being in my ear holes, because that's how deep I go. I'm always bleeding full range of motion, train to failure, exhaust the muscle. So as I say, the first two sets on the first exercise are generally the warm-ups, but then after that it's just like, right, go for it. You know what your limitations are.
I think it was Frank Zane. He used to do that back in the day in between sets. He used to either hip poses or stretch out like whatever muscle he was training slightly, just to keep it from getting too tight.
Yeah. It's just something I've always done. I don't know. I mean, you know, I think a lot of bodybuilders say, "Oh, I struggle to tie my shoelaces," or I've never had that problem. I mean, even at 312 pound, I've never.
That's like everyone at the minute claiming, like, there's this big controversy. Everyone claiming that they're 300 pounds in the off season, and everyone, you know, would say, "No, you're not," and whatever else. It's the same as, I can't tie my shoelaces. I think it's just, well, I'm that fucking big that I can't even tie my own shoelaces.
But it's like the weight. I mean, I've been through it. The heaviest I've ever been was 312 pound, and that was with Paul Scarborough in 2017. And I was on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy dose, which is 250 milligram we worked it out about 13 or 14 days, I think it was.
Okay.
And I got really heavy really quickly. Like, I had no trouble putting the weight on. My bloods were in range, and I was 312, and I remember thinking, Aaron, you're only 5'11", you're not supposed to be this heavy, and it scared me in a way. And I was like, no, I'm not comfortable at this weight. So I spend the year keeping my weight down because I don't like being heavy. It's not that I'm uncomfortable. I mean, I've done wrestling in the past, as in like WWE style wrestling, and I've wrestled 300 pound, which is, you know, throwing people around a wrestling ring, and it's not as easy as when I'm, say, 270 or, you know, lighter, but I have wrestled at 300, you know, 200, 290, 300. Just psychologically, I didn't like being that heavy. So and you don't look good. You don't look good. You know, you're on stage at 260, 270, being 40 pound over your stage weight, you just look a bag of shit. And I was like, well, I got into bodybuilding to look good. I didn't get into this to look good for like 3 months out of the year, and the rest of the time look like an absolute bag of, you know, nails. You know, you want to look good year round. So yeah, that's just me though. You know, some people are happy looking.
I suppose though, once you've grown that muscle, you haven't got to do that. And this is something that I know is quite a big topic at the moment with other like podcasts and videos and stuff. But once you've got to that point where you've got that muscle, you don't have to push the weight up that much every year, do you? As long as you can maintain and maybe add a little bit to finesse what you've got. Do you think you need to put another 20, 30 pounds on per year to get that extra pound or two if you're already big enough?
What are you putting on? This is what I was on stage last year at the British, and I think I was 200, I was 268, 270 thereabouts, and I'm like, why? If I go up to £300, I've got to come back down to 270, even lighter, because I could have been tighter. Why put that 30, 35, 40 pound on? Why do it? You're not putting muscle on, especially, as I say, I've been doing this for 10, 11, 12 years now. You're not putting muscle on. It's fat. The longer you do this, the less muscle you put on every year. So you're not putting that much muscle on. All you're doing is putting added body fat on, which at that sort of weight, that's a stress on your heart. It's a stress on liver, kidneys, all these things as well that we don't see or feel. And as I say, when I was 312 pound, I was like, my blood pressure was okay. I've never had high blood pressure, but I was like, I'm not happy with the idea that something somewhere could just go bang.
Mm-hmm.
What's the fucking point? I've got kids. Well, I had one kid at the time. No, I didn't. I had two. I had three. They were born. They were thinking that they were born in 2016. The twins were born in 2016. So yeah, I was like, I've got three kids. I don't want to be this heavy. I don't look good. I don't feel good psychologically. Just come down. Why?
I think it's weird. Some bodybuilders, like somebody you may know, that James Holling said he's obviously peak off season just now.
But he looks fucking awesome.
Aye,
that looks awesome.
Aye, that's what I was saying. He looks awesome at that weight. It's like he looks like a cartoon character you draw as a 10-year-old.
Yeah. But I mean, when I was 300 pound in 2017, I didn't look that good. So I was like, what's the?
And today he put on fucking video roller skating. It's like
you see his back.
I've seen that.
In that video. I was just thinking the fucking width of his back and the traps and everything through his t-shirt while he's rollerblading. What the fuck? Oh god.
So fair play. I think I noticed. Who is it? Ron blank. I spoke to him just the other day. Canadian guy. Oh shit! I've gone blank. What's his name? Mutant.
Oh, Nick Walker.
No, Ron.
Oh.
No, he's with Mutant. The brand.
I thought you meant Mutant. That's it.
That's going to annoy me. He's doing all the BMXing. He's got a gym. Oh shit! He's got the podcast with Dusty Hanshaw. I've completely gone blank. Fuck.
I should know this.
If he watches this, he's going to be like, "What the fuck? I forgot my name." No, he's.
I know who you're talking about. I just don't know his second name now. Now I've got to think about it.
He started doing BMXing, so I'm not too sure if there's something going on there where they're like competing. Ron Partlow, that's it. Fuck.
Yeah.
He started doing. Ron's kind of winding down now, so I like extra urban sports thing going on, whether he's doing skateboarding or rollerblading or BMXing or something. But yeah, no, fair play to him.
A wee question on the fact other people doing other jobs apart from the bodybuilding. I see on your Instagram you say you write code, and Tom said you were a programmer.
I'm a programmer, yeah.
What's the funniest look you've got walking into a place working as a programmer, being that you're such a big guy?
I've been writing code since I was 13, and it was a hobby. Then I just fell into a job, and I just carried on doing it. And I went self-employed about 6 years ago. Funniest look when you walk in. A lot of places don't expect you to look. They expect you to be nerdy and
like me,
dribbling maybe, like really introverted, I should say. They're all right normally. I think when I'm out and about, especially when I'm really, really lean, I stay covered up.
Yeah.
Especially if you pop down to Tesco or something, because it's sort of, there's this perception that if you're big or have got a bit of shape, that you're some sort of prick. So I sort of go above and beyond to smile at everybody and sort of, you're right, just say hello, just to sort of, because it sounds really arrogant to say, but nobody looks big. Nobody's 280, 300 pound. So there's that sort of stigma attached to being a dick as a bodybuilder. That's why I try to be overly nice to people. And it's like, it sounds really stupid as well. I always make a point, if I go into a shop or somewhere in public, I always try to strike up a conversation with at least one person. So if I'm not joking. This is every time I go to a shop, whether it's the cashier or it's somebody in the line with me, I always try to strike a conversation, because it just, I don't know. I don't want a negative stereotype around bodybuilders, and it's we do human nature. We do stereotype people. If you see, I don't know, you see you see somebody who's really, really skinny and you know, looks like they've been on a building site or they've got paint, they look like a crackhead. So you just look and you think, oh, I wonder what, you know, is he alcoholic or is he a druggie or whatever? And most of the time they're not. But that's our own judgmental preconception. So I always think, well, as bodybuilders, we're going to be looked at like we're some sort of angry, you know, roided up meathead who just grunts and, do you know what I mean? Really arrogant. I'm like, I'm not like that. I try not to be anyway. So, yeah, as I say, I always try to make a conversation with at least one person in the shop just to.
I do the exact opposite of that. I go out of my way. If I go in, it's hat on, turned around, hood up, just walking around. Don't fucking talk to me. I'm not interested. And there's nothing that I do it as a job. I walk into random like companies and sell stuff.
Yeah.
But when I'm not working or I'm not like on Instagram or on a podcast, or whatever, I don't want to talk to anyone. And not because I don't like anyone. I feel awkward. I don't like
that's
it.
That's what you did for a job.
It's the strangest thing in the world.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Like you would be my worst nightmare. Someone trying to strike up a conversation with me in the shops, and I'm like, fuck off, man. Don't look at me.
It's this fucking meathead trying to talk to me. Fuck off, you angry boy.
Like Christ, it's Aaron.
Fucking hell, this lad's in again, coming to get his can of Monster in the morning.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I ever do is whenever I'm food shopping or something like that, and the cashier asks you, "Do you want your receipt?" Like, only if I can return it if I didn't like the food. That's the only thing I ever say. It's like I always try that one joke, and it's like the pure lamest joke.
Yeah. So I answer the phone because I'm in the office obviously at the moment because of COVID and whatever, and I answer the phone in the same way to every single person. So when the same person rings up a couple of times in the day, they're like, have you got any other lines? It's always like, hello, mate, you're right. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Oh, good. That's it. Every single conversation, every time. Right. Yeah. Next one, and I know we've briefly discussed this anyway, but future goals, competitively and business-wise.
Wow. Competitively, obviously, I'm sort of on the shelf at the moment because I had a bit of an incident before Christmas. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure. Essentially, I don't know. He's done his answer as far as competing goes. I ruptured my patella tendons. I mean, Tom, you know this because we spoke about it. For anybody who doesn't follow me and all that bullshit on social media, ruptured my patella tendons and also the medial head of my tricep. So I've got like a bit of a, you see the scar there, I'm too sure.
Yeah.
So I've got that. So I was kind of, this happened middle of December. Had surgery 2 days later. And then for about 3 weeks, I was kind of like sofa bound. I couldn't really get up because I couldn't. Your patella tendon is the largest tendon in your body. It's right below the knee. It's about as thick as 3 fingers. So that's how big your patella tendon is. You are very unlucky if you rupture one, whereas I did both, which is really annoying. So I've kind of had to learn to walk again. I was told to be in a wheelchair for a few months, and I wasn't. They gave me crutches. I was on crutches for about 10 days, and I was just like, no, sack these off. I want to walk. My legs, essentially, I had surgery, so they were reattached, and they were, Alexa's bleeping off. I had to keep my knees dead straight. If I bent my knees, they would have re-ruptured. So I had to keep my knees dead straight for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I had knee braces on where I was allowed to bend slightly, and it's just been a gradual progression to the point to be able to bend my knees. I can do all that now, and I'm way ahead of all the expectations of surgeons and physios and all the rest of it. So I'm back on the up. I mean, the only thing I really can't do at the moment is walk downstairs, because if you imagine when you walk downstairs, your patella tendon is at the weakest point. So that's difficult. But I'm getting there. I'm just not being a victim. I'm just getting back on my feet and just cracking on.
What's your mindset like? I ruptured I had a bit of cartilage damage and stuff in my knee after climbing Ben Nevis about 2016.
As you do. Just climb Ben Nevis.
I was randomly capping up and went, can I do Glen Nevis? Or nah, fuck it, just do the big one. But I was playing football like 2 months later, and then the next morning my knee was like the size of a watermelon. But since then, like I've not ran since then, but I always have this fear when doing legs because I still get niggles. So is that something that's in your head? Obviously that's a tricky subject, but that you squat or do something that's going to be.
It is. I mean, as far as the surgeons told me there'd be nothing cosmetic different. But basically, I'd look the same as I did before. So they're expecting to make a full recovery with my tricep. he said most people get around 87% function and strength back. He says, but I expect you, because how quickly I recovered, he said, I expect you to sort of get closer to 100. So that was cool. And at the end of the day, I'm not bothered about sort of, you know, bench pressing or any of that business. It's as long as it looks okay, I don't really care. And if I've got to do it with extra drop sets or whatever else, I don't really care. I'm not looking to add any more muscle. So as long as it kind of goes back to how it was. I mean, I never had a judge come to me and say, Aaron, you need more size. Aaron, you need more back or more chest. It was never that. It's always been condition. Yeah. So I'm taking that as I don't need any more size, so I'm not going to push myself and risk injury. As long as it looks okay, as long as I can sort of look okay and all the rest of it, then yeah, I will compete again. I was really hoping to compete this year because it would have been 10 years. I've done shows for 10 years. Every year for 10 years. So that was kind of like a, what's the word? I mean, like a little bit of a goal. But I doubt that'll happen this year. But, yeah, just whatever comes. I kind of, when it happened, I sort of convinced myself and accepted that I wasn't going to compete again. I just got into my head. I was like, look, this is me speaking to myself. Look, you're not going to compete again. Get over it. Just get yourself walking and healthy and back on your feet and be a dad. And I'm doing that. So now I'm like, right, can I compete? Do you reckon I could? It is running through my head. But yeah.
Sort of written in your mind now, and it's like, well, I like competing. So if I can, why the fuck
I do, and that's the thing. I enjoy it. I think I've always got, especially since that first show 10 years ago, I always had the next show in mind. I was always like, right, if I did a qualifier, I was like, right, I'm going to go for the British. But every year I was like, I'm going for this. I'm going to try for this. So I always had the next show in mind before I'd done the show I was going for.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know when I'm going to compete, or I just don't know. Obviously, the goal was always the pro card. That seems further away now than ever because of what, in my head, seems further away than ever. But if things work out, that would be the ultimate goal. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's not going to change my life. At the end of the day, nobody has turned pro and it completely changed their life. Well, I'd say nobody. Top 10 of the Olympia do well. I mean, you know, James, it will change his life, I assume. Obviously Luke, he was changing his life, but they're that sort of like 0.0%, for average Joe who turns pro, especially at the rate they're giving out now, because there's so many shows and there's so many countries and that. People turn pro and then they do absolutely nothing as pros. So
we
spoke about that with Jamie Joe, didn't we?
I was talking to Tom earlier about that. It's like, see, if you were pro, even if you done 10 years and you qualified for the Olympia 10 years but didn't really get anything, having 10 competitive Olympia medals would still be an accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the thing is as well, it's, as I say, when you walk around Tesco, you are like the one person in there. You're probably the one person in there that's been in there all week. So in terms of the whole country, just getting on stage is a massive achievement when you think about it. But then being able to get a place at the British final, or people are sort of expecting me to turn professional, you're that little bit more rare, if that makes sense. So turning professional is a huge accomplishment, but then actually doing something with the pro card is another world altogether.
That's the thing. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people's journeys are to a pro card, and that's the lifelong goal. That is, I want to turn pro in bodybuilding, and then that's it. Where some people obviously are genetically gifted, they've done 5 or 6 years in it, they've managed to get the pro card early, and then they've had that 5 to 10 year lead up to get to the stage. I mean, some people have done it quicker than that, but you know what I mean. It's some people have always got in their mind that get the pro card, then I'm done. So some people just get it and bow out, don't they? And they're like, well, I've achieved what I wanted.
And it's one of those things. I never got there. Well, as I say, from what I was always told, it was like I just couldn't get in condition. So it's like, you look like a pro, you've got the size of a pro, you're not missing any body parts. I just couldn't nail the condition. So I'm like, well, if I can't do that as an amateur, I'm not going to do that as a pro, am I?
What do you think the reasons for that are? Just out of interest, do you know what you needed? Do you think it was a couple more weeks of prep, a bit longer, or do you think it was food-related training?
No, I've always done really, really long diets. I always diet like 20 weeks, and I just never. I'd get into like 6 weeks, and then I always called it 6 week out syndrome, because I get 6 weeks, I'd like start doing more cardio, more cardio than I need to do. I'd eat even less, and I'd just fall to pieces. And I wouldn't look any better for it. I just look like a bag of shit. Last year was different. I think I prepped originally for, I think, about 12 weeks. When they stopped the lockdowns, the first one, version 1, they announced the shows, and I entered the British. And it was 12 weeks, and that was the shortest prep I've ever done. It was the best I ever looked. So maybe there's something, maybe I need to prep for longer but harder. I don't know. But also, I've had coaches, I've had people help me. I mean, I worked with Chris Aceto in 2018, and I learned a lot. And I felt I looked good. I placed 4th for that show. Jamie won the super heavyweights, but I did it all myself last year. I had so much more fun. It was so much better. It was like, I did barely any cardio. I ate what I knew worked for me rather than, things that I know don't. But this is the thing, if you're being coached, you're given a diet, and you need to trust that diet and trust that person. Because if you don't, what's the point? But like, when I've worked with people in the past, or I've had somebody help me, I'm like, this doesn't work. I know this doesn't work, and I'd say something, I'll just try it anyway, just do it. And it's that sort of like, I've been doing this long enough, I know what works, I know what doesn't, but you've got somebody to help you, so you need to listen to that person. Otherwise,
Do you find it's difficult to sort of like the weekly check-in? If you're not being coached, you find it's difficult to be sort of critical, on your own progress?
No,
you look at yourself and go, "Oh, fucking hell, I'm shit," or I'm doing better.
All the time. I always take Chris. When I work with Chris changed the way I think about bodybuilding completely. And I mean, in the sense that the plan is there is no plan. You have to respond to the body. Like, you see a lot of people, they've got a set diet, and it's like, right, check in every Saturday, or change your diet, come back to me next Saturday. It doesn't work, especially if you're going especially when you're sort of like 6 weeks out or something. You've got to be. Chris would have me sort of send in photos every 2 days, every 3 days.
Yeah.
A few weeks out from the show, it was like, a few days out from the show, I was sending him photos 2 or 3 times a day. And a lot of what he did, I did last year, and it worked phenomenally. But as far as photos go, I always stand in the back garden, because you've got natural sunlight. First thing in the morning, you've not eaten, you've not drank, you look like a bag of shit. That's the best time to take photos. And I take them. I always did like a video, and it was always the same spot. My wife would take the video from the same seat, that same spot in my garden. And you've got something that you can sort of compare, and then you can say, right, what's the difference? What's happened there? And you go from there. But you always look at your video, and just go, oh, fuck that shit. I don't know why I'm bothering. You do. You are always your worst critic. And if you're not your worst critic, you're deluded.
What's the most embarrassing time that you've done your photos? Because I'm looking at your latest one from 31st of March. Have any of your neighbours been like out in the garden when you've been
doing it? Yeah. Funny story, actually. I posted a photo. It would have been about 2 years. It would have been with Chris, actually, because that's when I started doing it in my back garden. And I put on there, I bet my neighbours think I'm a right weirdo. I didn't realise one of my neighbours actually follows me, and she commented something. I was like, oh. That's not even a joke. That is, I'll try and find it out. It was the most bizarre thing ever.
I honestly had one the other day, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a little bit strange, but I had somebody message me the day, and I've just realised our kids are in the same class together at school, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. They follow me on Instagram. And I went, oh, right, okay. And she was like, oh, it's, Lucas Parker, whatever. And I'm like, yeah. What's your kid's name? And then I asked him, and he was like, yeah, this kid's in my class. And it's like, oh, I spotted you outside the school to put 2 and 2 together, and I followed you on Instagram as well. And it's like,
that is always
4,000 randomers follow me. I probably only know 200-300 of them, and one of them, the kid, is in my kid's class. It's just fucking strange, isn't it?
I thought you were going to talk about the waxer guy.
Oh yeah, fucking hell, that was a fun one. Somebody offered last night, and I'm going to ask you this question because you'll probably have plenty of stories. But somebody messaged me last night, and asked me if I would be willing to let them wax me, and they would pay me. To wax me. They live in London, and they would travel to the West Midlands, pay me £150 to wax me.
That's bizarre.
I asked if it was sexual, and apparently it's not.
Yeah, I've done a few times. I normally just ignore the message or delete. I'm like, you can see what if they've got a blank profile or they just looked at it, it's like delete. I've had in the past where somebody wanted to buy. I got a in 2016 British finals. I had pink trunks. I've still got them. And I had somebody message saying they wanted to buy these pink trunks unwashed. And I was talking to I was working in Oxford, and a friend of mine lives down in Oxford, and we were in the gym, and I showed him the message. He said, "I'll play along with it." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I messaged back. I was like, "No, I can't sell these. These mean too much to me." I said they were given to me by a friend. And I made this whole backstory, and this guy was like, "Okay, well, I'll give you this much." I was like, "No, they're worth too much to me. Like, I can't. I would, but in the end, I just blocked it and deleted it. But I strung it up for about 24 hours. Yeah, I've had people trying to fly. I had somebody asked to fly me out somewhere, and I'm not.
It is strange, isn't it? Like, I think it's a common misconception that it's just women that get like the weird attention, and it's not.
I've had it before. I've had it before on Facebook Messenger where somebody's messaged me, and it's popped up, and they've tried to call me, and it was a woman, and my wife's been sat next to me, and she was like, "Answer it." I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Answer it. I'll answer it." So she gave her the phone, and she's answered the voice call like, "Why are you ringing my husband?" Straight up, I was like, yeah, there are some. But I always think sometimes, I wonder if it's like somebody I know trying to see.
Just trying to back me up.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Somebody's there like asking to buy trunks or asking for photos. If you go, yeah, then okay, and then all of a sudden your mate calls you up and like, what the fuck are you doing?
You fucking dickhead.
You're weirdo. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. But...
Right, to get back on, so we've got a question that we've asked every single guest, and we've had different answers every single time. But what would your number one physique be? Doesn't matter what era. Number one physique.
Physique, or we're talking personality as well?
No personality, just physique.
Just the way they look. If it's Phil Heath and you don't like him, then that's all right.
Probably NASA.
That's a great physique.
NASA or Kevin Levrone.
Yeah, Kevin Levrone's got a nice physique.
Has anybody said that before, or am I first for those two?
No, first.
Tom said.
No, well, I said Kevin Levrone or
Cedric.
Sean Roden.
Oh, Sean Roden.
It depends what version of Kevin Levrone, though. I mean, obviously the one from like 2016 or whatever it was. That was phenomenal, but that was the best. NASA's
old school, slick back hair, all the rest of it. I like that.
Yeah, just Kevin Levrone was always just cool as fuck. I quite like Marcus Rule. I just that freaky, like ugly, nasty, huge, ripped. I thought Marcus Rule was class. But in terms of like best bodybuilder in the world, Jay Cutler, without doubt. Like, he's smart. Yeah. He still looks good. He was the best in the world 4 times. He's ticked every single box, and I think he's something like the richest bodybuilder in the world, apart from Arnold, because obviously Arnold's done much more. But like in terms of
phenomenally, yeah.
I
think was it Will that said that, Jason, that if he could retire and look like Jay Cutler, that would definitely be.
It's like when you speak to Jay as well. Jay's like, I've got no injuries. I get no aches and pains. He's literally.
He's the polar opposite to Ronnie. He's a polar opposite in the way that he's, even if you look at him and look at Dorian's downsized, like in the ridiculous sense of it. Jay still kind of looks like he was a bodybuilder, but obviously he's managed to sort his bloods and health and stuff like that out. Obviously, he did have the hair loss, and he recently got the hair transplant. That's why he was bald.
Is that a transplant? Is it? Or
no? He got one before the Olympia. That's why he was bald. That's why his hair was really shaved short.
Okay.
That recent Olympia. But yeah, he just, not one person I've ever heard has said anything bad about Jay.
No. And that's you meet him and he's cool. I mean, the second time I met him was over at Ultimate Fitness a few years ago. He did like a seminar, and I'll never forget. I kind of walked. Have you been to Ultimate Fitness before, Tom?
No, I've seen pictures. I've never been there though.
Brilliant gym. Atmosphere's phenomenal. Equipment's brilliant. Sai Fan, who owns it, is a legend.
Yeah.
but you kind of where is it? It's right by Five Ways in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So you have on the street, and as you walk, it's on the second and third floor. Sorry, first and second floor, and they've got the roof as well. And Jay was there, and he was on a bike, like a stationary bike, in the window. And as I was walking towards the gym, I clocked him, and he like looked. And as I walked up the stairs, he looked back and waved. He remembered me. I was like, he meets so many people, and he remembered me. And we were talking. He's just the nicest guy in the world. He really is. Yeah.
Well, you're just
How random Jay Cutler's just fucking cycling on a fucking stationary bike.
Well, Tom, he's just answered one of your questions.
Sorry.
It's a surreal moment.
It's crazy. It's cool as fuck, though. Cool as fuck.
Yeah. I'm going to start going there because people they've said loads of stories, haven't they, about fitness. A couple of people have said, well, I know Phil Heath's been there and a few others.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, obviously we're in the Midlands, and you're not far from me.
No.
We're really lucky in the Midlands for gyms. I mean, when I was down in Oxford and when I was down in, I was working last year in Reading, there's fuck all down there, absolutely nothing down there. Whereas in the Midlands, we've got the whole of Birmingham, there's Wolverhampton, there's a lot of gyms in Dudley, we're in my area. You know, you can jump on the M5 or whichever one it is, M5, M6, head north towards Stoke.
Yeah, there's like 6 in Kiddie. There's not many in where you are, and it's strange, isn't it?
And they're all good gyms as well. We're almost spoilt for choice, which is it's good.
Yeah, definitely.
There's like 3 good gyms in Glasgow, and that's about it.
Well, you know what the option is, don't you, mate?
No, I'm not crossing the wall. I'm a true wildling.
Okay. Right. Pet hate in the industry and in the gym.
In the industry. I don't know. I'm very much like, I take the piss out of people, but nothing really bothers. I'm like, as long as you're not affecting me, I don't really care. But some things I cringe at. I think it's just the amount of sort of, I think if you're good, people will say you're good. You don't need to toot your own horn. Whereas what gets me is like when somebody's getting ready for a show, it's like, oh, we're going to come in bigger and better next time. And it's this whole, don't tell me, just show me. You know, everybody talks themselves up. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm quite live and let live at the end of the day. As far as in the gym, it's got to be a constant selfies and video. I mean, you see people walking the gym these days with fucking tripods and cameras, literally by themselves with a tripod. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, to be honest, like as far as training goes, if somebody's going to watch, and the women are the worst for this. If somebody's going to watch somebody train, they're not going to watch Joe Blow, who's done, 1 or 2 shows and won nothing. They're going to jump on YouTube and they're going to watch Kevin Levrone or Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman. It's nobody's got any personality. Everybody's like a two-dimensional bodybuilder where all they talk about is dumbbells and protein and carbs. It's like, nobody's got any personality. So, and I think this whole lockdown, this whole 12 months has really shown a different side to people. I mean, take James, for example. James does a lot of things, the rollerblading. He started doing gaming. He does podcasting. He's got more to his life than just the gym. Whereas some of these people, that's all they've got. All they've got is the gym. And if they lose the gym, they fall apart. There's nothing. They've got nothing. There's no personality behind them. I've never wanted to be that person. Like they are bodybuilding. Bodybuilding isn't a part of them. That is them. That's all they are. And
it's an outlet.
It's quite sad in a way. Yeah, it's quite sad. That there's nothing else going on for them. It seems, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's quite easy, like you said, like Joe Blogs recording them training, that sort of thing. I think it's quite easy for it's like a cookie cutter sort of thing now. Yeah. Where everyone thinks, go and record and put a video on, that sort of thing. And I'll be honest with you, I've got every intentions of doing that myself. And I know Jason's done a few as well. But I think it's quite it's quite deceptive that it's an easy way to get into it. But we know as much as any, it's not easy to get views as well.
No,
So
and that's the thing.
Detracted away from the actual training and the progression you can actually have in the gym by spending the time doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I've done training videos. I've been videoed for the Beef magazine. Excuse me, doing training and stuff, and that's all well and good. But every single session, like, you know, or when they do like a comparison of like, you know, this time 6 months ago, this time now, and it's like, well, it's a game to spot the difference. You're like, well, what's really changed?
I think a lot of times I recorded it just for my own, like I put it on Instagram or something, but it's more for my own thing. Like, oh, in that lot of time I've added 2 plates. You know what I mean? Or like if it's a hack, if it's another type of squat or a bench or something like that, it's more for mine and William, who's my coach, just for self gratification kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just when it's constant, it just becomes like white noise. And there's certain people, especially in the country, in the UK, that I look out for, and I'm like, oh, you know, because I'm interested in what they're doing, and because it's not every single day whoring it out. Like when they do post something, it's like, oh, that's really cool, you know. But it doesn't bother me that much. But if there was one pet peeve, it would be, you know, sort of like setting up a machine and being in somebody's camera shot and being like, oh, for fuck's sake, that somebody's filming themselves. You know, it doesn't bother me that much, but you know, at the end of the day,
if you've got to say one,
that's why
I've got to say one.
I go to like 8 at night, and there's like literally me and one other person in the gym. It's like dead. It's open it's open till 10, but from 8 it's like dead as a doornail. So like if I'm there, it's like that's the apple train, because I'm not coming in anybody's way, kind of thing.
Does it not bother you that there's only you in? Like, does it feel weird there being no atmosphere? See, I like going when the gym's busy because I like the atmosphere. I like the buzz of people. I thrive. I've always got my earphones on. Earphones on, and I sort of keep myself, unless I'm training with somebody, obviously, because that's just fucking rude. But
yeah, I hate that. Always got one in.
Yeah, it's just like just have a conversation or like push each other on. But I thrive on the atmosphere and the buzz of the place.
Well, a lot of the time I'm training, I finish at like 8, 8:15, so I'm in the gym for 8:30, and it's like it's more a stress relief than anything else. So if I don't have to talk to anybody for that hour and a half, that's perfect, because I'm taking all my stress out on the workout, which works for me. It doesn't mean I don't get injured that way, and I'm not overexerting, but it's more, that's why it was difficult the last year, so I've not had that outlet, especially with the job I do. It was a big thing to keep me sane. But it's like if I'm training with somebody, there'll be a laugh and a joke, and there'll be a sort of, but especially with gym music in the UK, it's garbage. So I put in the loudest rock and metal I can and just drown everything out.
Depends where you train. In Unique and Kiddie, where I'm training, if there's no one in there, you put your own music on. There's like first come, first serve. So for me, that's absolutely fucking sound. But the amount of times I've got something
Backstreet Boys and Barbie Girl.
Exactly. Somebody walks in and I'm listening to fucking Barbie Girl, then they tell me to turn it off. Nah, usually if I put like, I don't put anything crazy on. I just like Bring Me Horizon and something like that. People walk in, and because it's quite I wouldn't want to say chavvy, because it's not a great way of describing it, but quite a mainstream sort of place to go. Like, it's not, you know, people that go there aren't metalheads. They listen to like fucking, every time I walk in, you've got like fucking 90s club music on, and that's fine, because I can deal with that. That's better than the shit they play in like the gym group and stuff. But it's still a bit like, asking someone to turn their music off when it's not kind of a rule to put that shit on. So I just stick it to like Linkin Park and things that people can relate to, I guess. But
just stick some earphones in, and you can, you're in your own world, aren't you?
There's nothing worse than trying to hit your max hack and little mixes on the telly. It's nothing as distracting, you know what I mean?
Depends who you are. Yeah, but doesn't Jordan Peters, I'm sure I listened to a podcast with him in once, and he said that he had like fucking the Lion King theme tune on when he was doing like fucking heavy compounds, because if he listens to anything else, it makes him sad. So he puts like happy music on, stop him from getting emotional.
To each their own.
Aaron, what's the go-to song?
I think Ben Chow's Backstreet Boys.
Let me my gym playlist. I've got it. Amazon Music.
I'm terrible for skipping through the songs and like finding a good one to start my set to.
Yeah. I've got Five Finger Death Punch. That's a big one for me at the minute. Fall Out Boy, Bad Wolves, AC/DC.
Neil Rammstein.
I've never heard this. I'm not really. I've got a lot of hip hop on here. I've got 50 Cent, G Unit, some DMX on here, no doubt. Machine Gun Kelly, Roy Jones, Fozzy, a rock band.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly's new album's pretty good, isn't it?
I haven't heard it actually.
Have you not? Oh, I quite like it.
Yeah. No, I've got all sorts on here. Yeah, just all sorts.
Okay, you kind of answered the surreal moment one earlier, but is there anything other than walking into Jay Cutler at Birmingham? What else has been surreal in the career? Because I'm sure you've done plenty because you've been to a lot of places.
Probably on stage 2016, the British finals. That was fucking nuts, man. 2016 was like there was a lot of hype around the super heavyweights because everybody was. I mean, I think the top 6 now are all pros. There was James, there was Luke, Jamie, Laurie Carr was in there, Samson was in there. There's about 8 people I think who were on that stage in the super heavyweights alone that are now pros, and it was like that whole year there was a lot of anticipation because everybody was looking. Everybody was on. It was like there was a lot of hype around it. I remember getting on stage and I was stood between Laurie Carr and Luke, and I walked out and I was like, the noise went ballistic. And I mean, I'm not just saying that, like other people backstage said the same thing, people in the audience said the same thing. When the super heavies walked out, that's what everybody was waiting for. And I remember turning to Luke, I was like, mate, this is fucking nuts. He went, yeah, no, like in his usual gruff voice, like, yeah, no. And it's a really bad impression, by the way. And that was quite surreal. Just being, I don't know, I didn't place, but just being in that lineup was fucking unreal. Phoebo was good a couple of years ago. Body Pack. There's loads. Everything's quite cool. It's all experience, isn't it? You know.
Do you think, see, because like the States, there's this problem with them giving too many pro cards out. Like one of the shows gave out 40 pro cards across the divisions, that it almost cheapens it getting an American pro card, whereas getting it here, it kind of makes a bit more.
No, I don't know, because there's quite a lot given out here. I mean, I think there's 3, 4 in the UK. You can go over to Ireland. You can go over to Europe. You can still travel around. You know, it's not like we're not. There's still quite a lot given out, and also as well across all the divisions. I mean, there was one girl at one show that I did. It was her first show. I heard her talking backstage. She'd been training like less than a year, and she turned pro.
Yeah.
I'm 10 years.
You're still
not a pro.
Do you think there should be like a mandatory, like you need to be like say 3 years as an amateur at least before you can turn pro?
No, because sometimes there is that person who is just that damn. At the end of the day, the cream rises. So it's all winning a pro card, but then they get into the pro ranks. It's like, right, now you've got to grow up. Now you've got to go through those years and years of look at James. James has been doing this longer than I have. I mean, James was a British champion at a junior level, and James is a year or 2 younger than me. So he's competed longer than me, and he's put the time in. So he's now at that level where he's seasoned, you know. Whereas bikini, men's physique, it's watered down, but because it's more attainable. It's not difficult. Yeah. You're not going to put men's mass on, fit in. So is it cheap? Yeah, but I mean, it's still difficult because the best of the best turn up to get the pro card. So it's like when people are coming to do the first show, like, oh, I'm going to jump into a 2 bros or an NPC qualifier, and you just think, don't do it. Like, do a PCA show, you know, go and do a NABA show, or even do a UKBFF show. There's FitX as well. We've got enough federations in the UK whereby you can build that experience up, and then when you're ready, then go for it. But I think a lot of people, they jump into these shows thinking, oh, you know, they are the best in their gym, but then when they step up against people who've flown in specifically to win that pro card on that day, they get their arses handed to them, and it's like a rude awakening, you know.
Yeah. I think people should enjoy the experience rather than just aiming purely for the titles and the sort of
that kind of ties into people videoing themselves. It's sort of like they're in it for the fame or the popularity. Or I mean, it freaks me out even now. I get people in the gym. Well, obviously not the last year because the gym's been fucking closed. But I've had it in the past where you get quite a lot where somebody comes up and they're like, "Oh, you know, your photos the other day or something," and the people you've never met them before, but they follow and they feel like they know you, and that's still so. I mean, it's not like celebrity actor singer level, but it's still very bizarre. I think one of the most bizarre things was being in Florida in 2015, and we were in Tomorrowland in Disneyland in the Kingdom, and some guy came over to me. He says, "Oh, are you Aaron Hudson?" I was like, "Yeah." He says, "You follow? I've got the photo on my Instagram. I think it's the first ever photo I posted." And he followed me on Instagram. So he was from Mexico, I think. He was in Florida. I was in Florida, from two different countries in one place at the same time. That was a bizarre moment. You never get used to that. That's always fucking weird. Like that's always, you know. And it gets me as well when people like you somebody messages and you reply and they're like, "Oh, thanks for replying." You're like, well, "What are you thanking me for?" Just you sent
I'm pretty sure I probably did that.
I've done that because I've got replies for like Fuad or Guy Sistanino, and to me they're the big time. You know what I mean? They're top, and it's like the fact they maybe get hundreds of DMs a day and tags, but then they're replying at least some of them, and you don't get that a lot with other sports and stuff like that. So it seems very. I'm very thankful for that.
If I post like a controversial meme or something, or like a bit of a rant or whatever, I get like loads of replies to that. But really, yeah.
We made the analogy the other day that you don't get Ronaldo fucking messaging you back if you send them a DM on Instagram.
Of course, yeah. But what do? We get to the gym, we eat chicken, we take a bit of gear, and we're not doing brain surgery. We're not rocket scientists. We're not fucking Elon Musk changing the face of space travel. We're just bodybuilders. Like we're not.
I don't know, man. It takes some fucking brain power to stop yourself from eating shit and making sure you go to the fucking gym when you don't want to.
Well, you need ephedrine or something if you can still get it. So you just
I think it's something that people don't really understand until they start doing it. But like people think it's weird if you go out, you know, for a night out and you won't drink. You know, I always offer to drive because it's an easy excuse to I don't want to drink because what's the point? It just, you know, empty calories, and also it doesn't agree with me anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
I've never been a drinker. I've been drunk about 4 or 5 times in my entire life. I'm not a drinker anyway, so it just doesn't bother me. I've never been a big food eater. I'm not a big eater, so it doesn't. Not eating takeaways or anything else doesn't bother me. In fact, like the last 3 months since the incident, I've eaten more takeaways than my entire life because I've discovered Just Eat and Uber Eats.
Yeah, but where you are, I bet you got some fucking great places on Just Eat. It's shit around here.
There's some decent places. I got into it. I did Portugal in November, and I flew back on the 1st of December, I think it was. And over there, everything was closed. And the only way to get food, even the restaurant in the hotel was closed. The only way to get anything to eat was on Uber Eats. So I was like, oh, I've never used this before. I'm not a big fan of takeaways, but I used it, and I was like, right, this is really cool. And I got back and it was like, you know, you've just done a show and you can eat what you want. So I was like, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try that. And then obviously when this happened to me, I was like, nothing else to do. So why not? So, yeah.
Fucking hell. I wish I could say that I wasn't into it, but I absolutely fucking love food. That's my worst. I dieted, obviously because I was a fuckload bigger than I am now, but in 2019 I dieted for 12 months straight, and I think I only probably cheated 3 times in 12 months, and I ate 1,200 calories a day, and I trained 7 days a week, twice a day. Obviously this is before I knew what I was doing, so like I literally I lived on nothing. I was like eating salad and chicken, and it was like, well, if I can eat protein and I can eat stuff with like fuck all calories in it, so I'm just going to eat as much of that as I can. And I lost like 4 stone doing that, 4.5 stone, but I looked like absolute fucking shit. Because
I bet you're like a prisoner of war.
Yeah, I couldn't grow muscle. I was training 7 days a week, and I was doing a bro split. So obviously I was still recovering enough between the sessions, but I was also doing like an hour on the fucking treadmill every day, or like on the Stairmaster. So now I'm like, I should be able to do this because I'm not eating that little food, but it's fucking difficult, man.
It's yeah, that's always difficult because as far as condition goes, it was always like people couldn't understand why I wasn't getting condition. I was doing tons of cardio. I was eating fuck all because I'm not a big eater anyway, and it just wasn't happening. And it was like 2016. I sort of prepped myself up until my qualifier, and about 5 weeks out, my head just went. And I messaged Paul Scarborough, And I was like, Paul, can you help me out? I'm 5 weeks out. I'm in a bit of a shit spot. And he within a flash, he was there. And he pulled a lot of cardio out. He changed a lot of things and made it easier, but then I reacted better. And I found that with Chris Cito, like I'd do like 2 or 3 days, and then I'd send him photos and say, right, go get a burger and fries. And I was like,
you needed to add more food. I think that's what the problem would have been, like your body was stalling.
I think I eat so little. I mean, last year especially, I did pretty much protein only and then essential fats because that and it worked. But I think because I run myself so flat anyway, as in like glycogen flat.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where you've gone too far and the body just gets stubborn. Like you can add as much T3 and clay and all the bullshit you want, but the body's smart. The body is smarter than we are. As I say, last year was probably the easiest diet, and I looked the best. And I was literally eating. I didn't calorie count. I didn't track anything. I dieted instinctively, which sounds really stupid. But I did, and it was the best I looked. Yeah.
Do you think in Britain anyway, there's a problem with people when they're dieting or even wanting to lose weight, that Slimming World, Weight Watchers, etc., almost demonizes the way that you should drop any weight? Like they say, there's good foods and bad foods. This is a bad food, but you're only 2 of them a day. Like the whole process of it, and the fact that the weigh-ins are on a Thursday evening.
Right. I'm going to go against the grain here. And everybody says calories in, calories out, it's thermodynamic. I get all that. I understand the arguments. But I'm sorry, 1,000 calories from protein versus 1,000 calories from sugar.
Yeah.
The body does 2 different things. Again, I'm probably going to get ripped apart because the science says, I get all that bullshit. But try eating 1,000. If you've got a litre of diesel and a litre of water, there's only one of those things you're going to stick in your car. And there's only one of those things you're going to stick down your mouth. You're not going to drink diesel. You're not going to put water in your car. Because although it's a litre, although it's 1,000 calories, it's used differently.
Yeah.
Try eating 1,000 calories from fibre, as in like psyllium husk. You couldn't do it. Try eating 1,000 calories of Starburst or Mars bars or whatever. You could do it easy. Try eating 1,000 calories from chicken in one sitting. It's fucking difficult. Try
1,000 calories of rice sounds like the worst thing in the world.
but the thing is as well, the body uses protein for nails, for hair, for muscle, for all these things. The body also uses certain types of fats for hormonal function. Carbohydrates, we can go from cradle to grave without consuming a gram of carbohydrates and be absolutely fine. Carbohydrates are the only non-essential macronutrients out of the 3. You can't live without protein. You can't live without fats. You can live without carbohydrates. That's fact. So if somebody tells me, but it's thermodynamics, it's calories in, calories out. No, it's not, because protein can't be used the same way like glucose is.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly calories in, calories out. And then they try to change the definition of out. It's like, if you I'm just like, no, you know what? If you're eating well, if you're eating when you're hungry, what can go wrong? And that's what I did last year. I ate just protein, just good fats, didn't count it. I ate when I was hungry. I stopped when I wasn't hungry. So if I had like a tub of chicken and I don't know, almond butter or avocados or something, when I was full, I stopped eating. That was it. And then if I was hungry again, I'd pick it back up and I'd carry on, an hour or 2 later. I just ate when I was hungry rather than trying to, right, this is meal 4 or this is meal 5 and I've got to have this many grams of fucking Cocoa Pops or whatever the latest fad is. It just, I don't know.
It is a controversial viewpoint because, 99% of people.
And the thing is, I understand what they're saying and I thought that myself, but having done it, as I say, I didn't track a single macro, a single meal, anything last year. And I looked the best I've ever looked. I felt fucking great. It worked. So for me, if I'm an outlier or I'm a whatever, fine. But that's what
if it works, it works.
Do you think that, say, you're saying when you're in the shops and stuff like that, you're getting like funny looks because you're the muscles and stuff like that. But see, if you were the same weight but fat, you probably wouldn't get the looks, which is the funny part of that.
No, but there's more fat people than there are muscular people.
Yeah. So it's,
280 pound of fat looks a lot different to 280 pound of muscle. So yeah.
But it's almost like it's not accepted to have the muscle, but it's accepted to be the fat. It's like that's
it's the misconception that it's all steroids and So well, yeah, obviously that plays a part, but they don't see the sort of the 10 years of killing yourself in the gym, the 10 years of not being there for bedtime with your kids because you're in the gym getting ready for competition. They don't see all that bullshit. It's the most disrespectful thing, I should say, is when somebody comes up and says, what should I take? What do you mean, what should you take? What gear should I take? Fucking no. You tell me, what gear should you take? How do I look like you? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, really? It just, there isn't a short answer. You've got to put the time in, and that's the frustration with the beach classes, the bikini, the men's physique. They haven't had to put in the graft that we have to get to where they want to be compared to where we want to be. So yeah.
I can understand that for sure.
Yeah.
And it does take, and I did a post about it probably the beginning of last year, but no, the end of last year. It takes far longer than anybody ever tells you or you ever believe. Even to get to the point where I am now, and I put something on my story earlier, it's taken like 5 years of weight loss and then a couple of years of lifting even to get to where I am now. And in my head, I'm like, nah, I'm no further on than I ever was. But now I'm so invested. I'm like, well, I like it. I'm not going to give up. But I think it's very easy for people to assume that 2 or 3 years of lifting and eating right, and you can be fucking massive and you can look ace. But it's just not the case, is it?
Your genetics will determine that, obviously. But I mean, it goes back to the whole pro card thing. It's like, it's watered down. Yeah, it's great. But you could have somebody who weighs, 160 pound wringing wet with a pro card walking through Tesco. Or you can have, say, me at 280, or somebody like me who's bigger or whatever, without a pro card, and average Joe on the street doesn't give a shit that person's got a pro card. In fact, average person in the gym doesn't have a clue what the IFBB is.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're like, well, I like that physique. So it's like, how do you judge value? Do you judge value based on what you've got rather than what you've achieved, or what you've achieved over what you've? Does that make sense? So like,
yeah, definitely.
At the end of the day, pro card it's not going to define me, but I want it. Don't get me wrong, I've worked for it just because it's like a personal thing, but it's not going to change my life. It's not going to. People aren't going to all of a sudden going to turn around and say, "Oh wow, that's that guy who just won his pro card." Yeah. I would have looked exactly the same as a pro as I did as an amateur. Just
some people, I think the other misconception is from people starting out, which I think we half spoke about the other day, is that you can attain a sponsorship without being a pro.
Yeah,
and I think most people believe that you have to be a pro, or you have to be competitive, or anything like that to have sponsorship of some sort.
Dude, Sean Roden, when he won the Olympiad, didn't have a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I didn't know that one.
Current Mr. Olympia, Rami, has just signed with what's he called? What's that? Tony Hughes' brand.
Yeah.
They're not a mainstream brand. He was with GAT, was it?
Dragon Pharma.
Dragon Pharma, yeah, the Redcon one rip-off.
But they went tits up, supposedly.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, then you've got people who've achieved fuck all, and they've got sponsorship deals and all these other things because they've got personality. They've got other things that are valuable to a business. I mean, Sean Roden's. I mean, I've met him a few times. He's a nice guy, but he's not very charismatic. He's not very funny. He's not very. He's just.
No. He seems like quite good to hang about with. Like, for what I've seen for like Flex's new gym opening in Vegas and stuff like that, it seems like he doesn't take things super seriously. So like, yeah,
might just be for the camera. My experience of Sean Roden was this: he was just like you didn't. He was just on his phone.
I'm like that because I'm so fucking. I say nervous. It's weird because when I know I've got to talk, I'll talk. But if I'm in a room with people that I feel a little bit like last weekend, went for a walk and there was family members there, and I've got nothing wrong with family members, nothing at all, and I'll chat with them. They message me, text me, voice note, whatever. I'll talk to them whenever. And before lockdown, never a problem. But now I'm like, I'll set my phone. I feel a bit awkward. This is strange. I shouldn't really be out here going for a walk anymore.
A hermit.
Yeah, that's. I've got a shell and I'm climbing into it.
You're
But I could
turtle.
understand that maybe it's not because he's not charismatic, but it might be because he just feels a little bit
He
overwhelmed.
might,
with-
he might have been homesick. I don't know, but he didn't speak very much. I mean, he was polite, but he was just on his phone the whole. I was like, you don't really want to be here. Whereas,
And he's not that Instagram famous either, so let's be serious. He's only got 500,000 people.
only 500,000. Yeah, that's all. That's all. Yeah, I mean, go back to it. The whole sponsorship thing is like, it doesn't mean a lot. I mean,
Everybody wants something for free.
yeah, but what are you willing to do to get that free shit? It's like, what's the point? Like a lot of these people, it's like they sell their soul to join a supplement company just because they want to feel important. It's like, well, why? Like they'll say things that they don't mean. They sort of it's just fake, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jason, you were talking about the other day with the equipment company that we were talking about, saying that if you got to try it before you actually say that you're happy to sell the stuff and to be part of it, because at the end of the day, if it's shit, it taints your name, doesn't it? At the end of the...
If you go through like 4 sponsors in 6 months, they'll be like, he just tries to sell everything. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? You've got to get your not a reputation, but you know what I mean. You've got to have your own backbone, that what you're selling is something that you believe in, not just something that pay you.
I did my first show and I joined a company called One On. Literally One On was their name. They approached me. I was like, yeah, okay. So I was with them for a little while. Then they sort of disappeared. And I joined Protein Lifestyle, who were linked with Muscle Talk, James Collier. Then I joined Mammoth, the Canadian company. This was 2016. Then I joined CMP. I was with CMP for about 2.5 years. Left CMP and I didn't bother with anything else. And then last year joined Strom. I mean, CMP were great. CMP were a really, really good company. They've been around since forever. They had products that I didn't like, and I just didn't talk about them. That they didn't ask me to talk about them. It's the same with Strom. I think I had one of the first batches of Support Max, and I got it actually at the British Finals in 2016. Rich was there with like a bag, like a suitcase, just full of Support Max. Everybody who'd ordered stuff, he was like dishing them out to people who'd ordered stuff. I've used it since day one, and I don't get a lot from pump pre-workouts, so I just don't use them. I don't talk about them. I don't use them. I love stimulant-based pre-workouts. The stronger the stimulant, the better. As I say, I don't use intra-workouts. CMP bought out an intra-workout. I never used it. I think I had a tub just to try it. I never used it. I was never asked to talk about it, so I didn't. Actually, I tell a lie. I wrote an article for the Beef on it, and the reason I did was that it was basically to prove the point that intra-workouts don't make or break the physique. But if you're struggling to eat and you're in the gym for 2 hours, getting that in whilst you're working out is a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
So it was as fair as I don't use it myself, but that's as fair as I could go with it.
I think that's where a lot of people get mixed up with the actual definition of supplement.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your diet. That's not your diet. That's to help you add that extra little bit that you might miss from food.
I quite like that about Strom. Like their supplement. Obviously, they've got a protein powder. It's very good. The flavors are really good, but I don't use it every single day. Whereas things like Support Max Joint, those sorts of things I do. Digest Max, Systar Max, I do use those every day. They have a use. There you go, Digest Max. Did you know I came up with the idea for Digest Max?
No.
I bet Rich didn't tell you that, did he?
No.
He didn't.
Digest Max was my concept. Rich will tell you. Rich will acknowledge it. He has publicly acknowledged this. I came to him last year, just during Strom. I says, Rich, could you put out a fibre supplement? I said, for digestion, for good health and all that sort of stuff. I said, Dave Palumbo's got Fiberlise and he does really well with it, but he hasn't done anything with it for years. And Rich was like, oh, I don't know. Rich is very much, he comes up with ideas for products based on his needs. He said to me, so I've never had the need for a fibre supplement. I was like, yeah, but other people have, and you're a business. You are selling to other people, not just you selfish fuck. So this is what you need to do. Yeah, okay. So I told him, I said, I think you need psyllium husk, you need digestive enzymes, whatever. And gave him what I thought. And he says, right, leave it with me. A few weeks later, he came back to me, sent me this WhatsApp message with like all these ingredients on. I was like, yeah, Rich, looks clever, looks really intelligent, haven't got a but it's you, I'm sure it works. And it did. And it's, I'm not too sure where it is on the list now in terms of best-selling items, but it's up there.
I've got some. I bought it straight away because I thought, do you know what? If it helps, then fuck it, I'll give it a try. I do half a scoop every other day because I don't need it that much, but I feel like it can't hurt to add it in with everything else that's going on, and I'm not the problem.
One of the reasons
it was my idea.
One of the reasons I got it
out there, I invented Digest Max.
I'm actually on like omeprazole, like prescription kind of thing, and I thought,
what's that for?
It's for stomach acid.
Okay.
Really, and I thought, and I heard that being on that long term, I'm 30 in like 10 days, so like being on that long term has some bad side effects kind of thing. For like it can go the opposite way. But I thought I'll try this Digest Max, and then kind of get off the omeprazole every couple of days, and maybe try that and see if that helps. Then maybe slowly come off that, and maybe just use Digest Max if that stops the thing. Just as like a trial thing, you know what I mean? And it has helped. It has helped. Like every 2 days, I'll take my tablet, but I'll take the Digest Max in between. So it's helped so far. So I was like, a couple of weeks, I'll maybe try and up it and try and kind of take myself off that to see if it does any difference.
Yeah, that's good.
Interesting. Good feedback. Yeah. But like we had Rick on a couple of weeks ago, and he said like he doesn't like to claim that his products work because as soon as he says this works, somebody it won't work for will be there to claim that it doesn't and it's no good. Yeah. Same with, like he said, the Neuro PM. You know, obviously it's very clear that it does help people with their sleep and whatnot. And again, Jason's used it. I've used it. I like it. I use it every day now. Yeah. And but he won't claim that it helps. It may, assist with sleep.
Rich has got to be very careful with label claims because of old EU legislation, European EU legislation. So it was like he can't make certain label claims, even to the point where he can't make claims on the website. You just can't. Yeah. You've got to stay within really strict guidelines. The EU is fucking really corrupt for that type of stuff. He was like, Rich was telling me, he said like, there's certain things you can't claim something does, but if you pay a license fee, you can then claim.
Yeah, I saw in his story earlier. There was something to do with that, and it was like a license fee to claim that it's compliant. But we had Dean St. Martin on Wednesday, was it, Jason? We spoke to him, and he was saying that supplement needs to start in a separate website, so that he can put the information that he wants to about his products and the videos, because they're not allowed to put it on the website and claim that that's what they do.
It's stupid. It's beyond stupid. Whereas in the US, they've got the opposite problem where they make ridiculous claims like, "Oh, hydroxycut, you will lose 20 pounds in a week." It's like, you're not really going to do that, are you? But so there's the Europeans here and there's America there, and we kind of need to be somewhere more towards America, less over this way. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? The whole supplement thing.
Yeah, it's like a bit
Castbox has been proven to lower people's blood pressure, but he can't claim that on the product or the label or anything because it's
which is shocking, really, because there's the amount of people, and again, it's very similar to something we discussed with Dean about the mold and GP giving him saying, "Oh, well, you've got a fucking chest infection and take these antibiotics instead." The amount of people that the products that Strom do that could potentially help, that are outside of the NHS's scope, outside of the GP's even fucking thought or remit, that could save them money but also stop people from getting ill from other side effects, like taking a tablet for years for stomach acid that could potentially cause damage the stomach lining, cause ulcers, that sort of thing, which plenty of people do that with painkillers and things. That actually, if you take fucking Support Max joint, that might take away some of the fucking pain you've been feeling for years in the joints and whatnot.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things. As I say, I don't get anything from pump pre-workouts. I've used Strom Neuro before, and I didn't get a lot from it. I don't get anything from ashwagandha for some reason. Whereas I got the Neuro PM, and my wife tried it 2 days ago, and she was spaced out. She was like, it doesn't have that effect on me. It just doesn't. And it's not because it doesn't work. It just doesn't affect
I think
me.
it's your size.
For me,
it could be. So maybe I need like 6 scoops or something. I don't know.
For me,
it's nice.
It was basically I used to wake up like at least once a night, and I think it was like an anxiety thing, to be honest. But this seems to relax my mind, kind of thing, and maybe the cortisol sort of thing. And if I take that, I don't wake up during the night. I'll get a good 8 hours.
No way. There you go. Works. It just
and don't feel groggy in the morning.
No way. Yeah.
No ganjovers. Right, the last one that I've got for tonight anyway is top 3 Instagram accounts. They don't have to be bodybuilding related, but when you turn your phone on, who do you look at first? What interests you the most? Because I know you're on it all day, every day. So
I post random, like my main Instagram feed. I post stuff that I want to remember. It's like a photo gallery, like a photo book. You know, you've got like the old photo books. Remember those?
Yeah.
I put things on the main page that I want to remember, like things that, like big things that have happened. Whereas my stories, anything that's bizarre or ridiculous, I just share, because I'm like, somebody somewhere is going to look at this and it's going to make them laugh, or they're going to go, what the or even better, it's going to make them think, or at least think differently. So that's what I try and do with Instagram, especially the stories. I just post random fucking shit on there. As far as people I like to follow, I don't know, man. I quite like Zach Khan just because he's funny as fuck. The supplement review is quite good. I quite like the memes he comes up with and stuff.
Yeah, he's quite funny.
I didn't realise earlier that he now lives in Telford. I didn't know that. So he in a video was like, "Oh, I've just moved out of London to Telford," so he's only down the road from us.
No, he was. Yeah, I don't know, because he goes over to the warehouse, which is in Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in Telford. Yeah, it's not too far, is he?
No.
There's probably some. I quite like following Don Jr., Donald Trump's son, because he's funny as fuck. He's just hilarious. Some of the shit he puts up. Donald Trump Jr. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a bunch of bizarre accounts that I follow. Yeah.
Richard will be happy that Strong wasn't one of them there.
I like watching Richie's stuff. I sort of, whenever he does like the Q&A things, he does those quite frequent. I'll always ask some stupid question, but he never is. So I'm like, fuck you. I mean.
every time Tom does a Q&A, at least 5 people ask about OnlyFans.
It's a running fucking joke, and it's doing my head in, honestly.
And could you imagine, like, in 20 years' time, when these people had kids, or like
the kids are older,
and their arse is going to be all over the internet? They're like, "Mom, why are you half naked on the internet?" Like
I always felt bad
never
for, like,
fucking goes.
Why are you biting your lip and bending over for me? Like,
I always felt bad for, like, Kate Beckinsale, who's got a boy when he gets to that teenage years kind of thing, because like all the guys like, "That's your mum," and then looking back at some of our movies, you know what I mean? You're like,
imagine fucking Katie Price being your mum. I mean,
just about to say.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. She's been fucking with everyone, and everyone knows what their fucking junk looks like as well. So I
just think, don't post anything that you wouldn't show your kids or show your parents.
I guess
the way I look at it is that, like, there's photos of me on stage in pants or in my back garden in pants, which are weird, but it's not a sexual thing.
Yeah, but then that's almost like a job, you know what I mean? Obviously you're still amateur, but it's almost like a job. So it's like you've always done it on stage, you're wearing the same things you would on stage. So it's
I always compare it to having a car. Now you can have a car, like a classic car or something, and you've fixed it up, you've got the engine working great and all the rest of it. So people are going to come along and look at your car and say, "I like it, but I'm not too keen on the wheels, or I'm not too keen on those seats, or whatever." Whatever. Your physique is the same way. And if somebody said to me, "Aaron, I like your car, but I don't like your alloys," I wouldn't be offended. Whereas if, for some reason, bodybuilders, if you critique something on their physique, it's so offended.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's your body of work. Like nobody's saying you're a dick, your mum's a prick or anything else. They're just saying you need to work on your back or you need bigger arms or something. Don't take it to heart. So like, as I say, the photos in my back garden or on stage, they're not done in like a section. The context is different. It's like I'm doing something different that not everybody does. So this is what I'm doing. You know, it's like a car. You're showing your car off. You're showing your body of work. You know, so yeah.
My family members think it's weird. I know Jason does.
Yeah, I've actually blocked mine on Instagram. I have a separate kind of family Instagram that I use.
It's only now that I've started to unblock people that I know in real life, because I'm not as I used to be very shy about it. Like I used to be like, when I first started my Instagram, it was like, right, block anyone that might know who I am, and then people that go to the gym, I might let them watch, because all it was, you know, pictures of me fucking with a vest on when I first started, and you know, once every fucking 3 months because I was scared shitless that somebody might say something negative. And then now I'm like standing in my boxes like, fucking hell, I think I look like shit. But if they want to see what I'm doing, that's fine. Because I think people don't really understand, do they, on a personal level, why we do what we do. I know obviously difficult conversation with people about like pets and that sort of thing, you know, and they don't understand why you would or why you would consider it and whatnot. And then it kind of explain.
I will say to you though, I mean, you're kind of at the beginning of your bodybuilding journey. The whole issue, it gets easier as you get on. Like it was always in the early days. It was like I'd be shocked if somebody didn't think I didn't go to the gym, and then it was like I'd be shocked if somebody said to me, "Are you natural?" I'd be like, "Fuck no." I mean, do I look natural? Do I look like shit? And now it's like I get offended. I say I get offended. I get worried if somebody doesn't think I compete. They're like, "Oh, you get random strangers like, oh, when's your next show?" Or they'll say something. So now it's like, if I had a random stranger say to me, "Excuse me, do you go to the gym?" I'll be like, "Fucking not anymore, because I'm fucking working, bastard." You know.
Does it annoy you if your peak off season and somebody, or like say you're like midway through your cut and somebody asks if you're in your off season, or you're looking big?
Or if you're like a week out, they go, "Have you started dieting for a show?" Or have you started? I'm like fucking
24
weeks deep. Yeah. or
peak off season, they're like, "So when do you start growing?"
Right, I'm just going to what I'm going to do, and then eat more, and that's always. I think it's just, you know, it's people's perception, isn't it? You can't.
I think it's how they say it as well. Because if they're saying it, try to wind you up, then you know they're talking shit. You know what I mean?
But also as well, it's who says it.
Yeah.
If they know what they're on about and they say it and it's not a joke, then it's going to hurt you. But if it's you know, fucking some old fucking granny at the supermarket, or my grandson goes to the gym, then that's all right, isn't it?
You always get that as well. There's always somebody who's like, "Oh, I used to be bigger than you," like, or Tom, I don't know if you've had this as well, especially around like Dudley and Birmingham. Everybody knew Dorian Yates. Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody went to school with him. Everybody was his best friend. Everybody was his training partner. Now I've met the guy like a handful of times. He wouldn't know me from Adam, but it's like Ernie Taylor. Ernie Taylor's from Dudley. Dorian's from Birmingham. So obviously, you know, they're like
people claiming to know both of them. I to be fair, just to add a disclaimer, because I know that my bosses probably will listen to this. My boss did used to train at Temple Gym.
Did he? There you go.
His mate has gone out and done like the DUI training and whatever, Martin Burford and whatnot. So like, although there is other people in my life that I won't say their names because I can't be asked for that, but that have said, "Oh, you know, I used to train there," or, you know, claimed to like Ernie Taylor, and a few others like locally that have had a name, you know, some sort of notoriety, and people like to go, "Yeah, fucking Ali trained in here for years," or "My dad used to train with him," and whatever. And that's fine.
Everybody knows Ernie, and it's to the point where like my uncles grew up with him. I met his sister, believe it or not. I met Ernie Taylor's sister, lovely little lady. I was in Tesco. She says, "Oh, you know," she talked about training and all that sort of stuff. And I was with the kids, and we were talking. And she says, "Oh, you might know my brother. My brother used to do a bit of training." I was like, "Oh yeah, what's his name?" She said, "Ernie." I was like, "Ernie?" "Yeah, have you heard of him?" I was like, "Oh, fucking yeah." Your brother's quite well known. He was on the Olympics. I've never met him. Everybody around me knows him. Everybody's training with him, but I've never met him personally. But this little, like she was the loveliest woman in the world, made a fuss of the kids and everything. And you might have heard of him. He's like, I was like,
you just had a 20-minute conversation. She just drops that bomb in at the end.
I was like, oh my God, yeah. That was quite surreal.
Yeah. I think that's a black country thing, to be fair. I know I can't really claim to be black country, but you know.
You sound well, you're from Warsaw. Yeah? Warsaw's kind of black country.
Nah, I'm Kidderminster, but I was from Telford originally.
Didn't you say you were in Warsaw? Or
Nah.
Telford's kind of,
Look at the face,
Telford's kind of like, doesn't really have an accent, does it?
It's just Telford. It's just like
it's shit. Telford is like between Shrewsbury, where they're like got that sort of Welsh twang going on,
and
then like fucking Dudley Warsaw way. So I guess
where you've got that I am very slow, that sort of thing going on,
like that yam thing going on. Yeah,
hate it. There's he was on Netflix at the moment. Man Like Mobeen. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
It's based in Birmingham. I watch it. It's really, really good. But I watch it because the accents kill me. I'm like, do I sound like that? That's really fucking bad. I'll probably watch this back and be like, oh shit, I need to like put an accent on or something.
Peaky Blinders.
Right, you can't complain. I'm literally from the only city in Scotland that speaks this way. Every other place in Scotland is totally different.
Everybody in Scotland sounds the same.
Yeah.
No, as soon as you go outside of Glasgow, it's like totally different. It's like it's literally totally different. If you see somebody from Edinburgh or something like that, it's very very Queen's English.
Really?
Yeah.
You just sound angry as fuck to us down here.
Sound like pirates without the boat. But we don't sound the same to you, Jason, do we?
No, like there's like a lot of regional accents, obviously like Yorkshire and stuff like that, where they pronounce the every second word and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where there's a lot more variation in accent, but that's probably because you've been invaded a lot more than Scotland.
It's true. We've got the Romans, the Anglicans, everybody's been to Britain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like everyone knows Dorian Yates, everyone's been into fucking
yeah. Oh God.
For fuck's sake.
Right.
That I'm out of questions, to be fair. I don't know how long we've been talking for, but it feels like it's been fucking ages. And I
think it's about an hour and a half.
That's not too bad. That's all right. We'd definitely get you back on again, mate, if you're interested.
In this fancy pants water, Voss,
posh water. It's cheaper now than it used to be, isn't it?
I don't know. I got it from some like warehouse, and I was like, oh, try some of that lemon and cucumber.
That's just an English flavour.
Better than fucking iron brew.
Drink that with your Pims.
There's a lot of good bodybuilders coming out of Scotland at the moment now.
Aye, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it just seems like it's only been in the last few years, like that they've started to come out. Like I feel like IFBB, there's not a lot. It's all the British bodybuilders are from England.
I don't know any Scottish, to be fair.
There's Andy, Greg. There's a number of.
One's coming. There's ones now. Kind of thing. But
Greg's phenomenal, man. I competed against Greg this year at the British. He beat me, the fucker. But he's phenomenal. Like to me, like he's gonna get his pro card this year. He should be a pro.
I think he's from not far from me, actually.
You're all the same. You're all just.
You're all north of the border. That's it.
I don't get why there's two separate countries in the UK. It's like we're not.
We're not talking about that. Tom was going to try and get us to talk about.
Hang on, there's three. There's three. Let's be serious.
Yeah, Wales is like the cousin that nobody talks about.
I don't really class Wales as another country. That's just where you go on a holiday, isn't it?
Oh yeah, if you're desperate. I mean.
That's where you go to the beach.
Welsh that may watch this.
I've got family in Wales. I mean, it's not as far as Scotland, but we're like fucking 30 minutes away from the Welsh border where we are.
Yeah, it's not far. But then Scotland, Wales hasn't got a motorway or anything. It's like you country roads. It's like, oh, it's horrible. But I've only been to Scotland once, and it was to check out a wedding venue, and it was fucking freezing.
I was -2 today. I was walking about in a body warmer and pair of joggers.
Yeah, I was wearing a t-shirt doing my steps in like fucking 10, 12 degrees.
Well, today we've had sunshine, we've had rain,
snow.
Clear skies and it snowed. I was doing a fence.
We had all 4 seasons in one day. It's crazy.
It's been weird, isn't it? Talking to Scottish bodybuilders, though, that fucking Keefe, I don't know what's his name.
The natural guy. Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
What the fuck is his strength about?
I don't know.
It's
Vicky McCann, who runs the BMBF. She's a wicked. You need to get her on here. She's a really good friend. She plays herself down like she's brilliant. She runs a bodybuilding federation, supplement company. She's got her own gym. She's standing in the next election, the Scottish elections. Vicky is an interesting person. Get her on. She does his diet, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with this guy? You just.
How weird would that be if an MP done your diet?
She's an MSP, yeah, but
MSP, come on.
Wow.
MSP.
It's not really the same thing anymore, is it?
In a couple of years, you'll have to get visas to come up here.
No, you're right. Keep it. You're right. We don't want to come anyway.
Visas to get cold? No, thank you.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
That's the way you bring that.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that into the next podcast. We'll talk about
Cool.
sort of the election, all that sort of shit. Because I'm interested in. I know we've briefly spoke about it, but I am interested in why and what and whatnot. It's
another.
The last one I wanted to ask about is obviously you've got quite a controversial way of looking at bodybuilding and growing and cutting and that sort of thing. Do you intend on if you can't compete moving forward and you can't go for the pro card, would you move into coaching more and doing that sort of stuff for people, or do you think it's just outside your remit?
I've helped a few people.
Yeah.
I'm helping a guy at the moment over in Wales. He's getting ready for his first show, and it was like he asked me a number of times when I was like, "Look, I'm not qualified, I'm not experienced, I've not really achieved much myself. I haven't really got time, and to be honest, it's not really worth the money. If I'm honest, like, what you charge somebody a month, 100 quid, 150 quid? I'm not really that arsed. And a lot of the times you end up babysitting them because bodybuilders are insecure as fuck and all the rest of it. But like he kept asking, he was quite persistent, and then like he was when I had this happen, the incident, he was really he's really good, and he was messaging, checking in, and he asked me again, and I was like, do you know what? All right, okay, let's do it. We'll give it a go. I said, but you need to graft. Like I'm not babysitting you. He's like, no, I won't. I was like, yeah, all right, I've heard this before, but you know what? He's been fucking brilliant. I could tell him to eat dirt, and he would do it. And he gets better every week. He's a dream to help. And it's like, he proved me wrong because he's been the complete opposite of what most people are. But as far as coach, I don't know. Like, it's, as I say, I'm not qualified. I'm not like, I don't know.
I just wondered if there was a future in the industry for you if you didn't want to compete. If you decide that you can't keep the legs up and that sort of thing. And
everybody does it. It's oversaturated. Like I had a friend a while ago who owned a gym at one point. He's like, "What do you reckon I should do, like coaching?" I was like, "Not really, because everybody's doing it, and it's so oversaturated. And is it really worth the hassle? Is it really worth the?" So I'm like, I don't know. If somebody was worth it, if somebody was really sort of, I knew them and I was personable with them, and I could be, because that's the thing as well. Like I'm quite blunt. I'm like, at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. But if you look like shit, and we're on that level, I'm going to be honest with you, because I would expect the same back. Like I don't want you to blow smoke up my arse, because then come show day, it's an embarrassment, because the judges aren't going to give a shit about my feelings. So I just want you to be straight. If I look shit, you've not, going back to the car analogy, you've not said, your kids are absolute bastards, I hate them. It's not like, it's nothing personal. You said, look, I don't like your alloys, or look, you need to work harder, or your back isn't that great, or do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. If somebody could, correct me.
Bodybuilders in general are picky about. They might think, "Oh, I don't think my back's that good," but then if somebody else He goes, really, I would add more to your back. They go, I was thinking that anyway. It's just more people need to realise that they're
I'm
not
the
trying to
opposite.
critique
If
you in
somebody
a bad way.
confirms what I'm saying, I'm like, oh my God, I fucking hate my life.
No, but I mean, that's the thing. I'd be more worried if somebody's. I'd rather have a good critic than a bad supporter.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'd rather,
Yeah.
you know, look, you need to somebody tell me the honest truth, and that's why a lot of it is like you get a lot of compliments. A lot of people saying, "Oh, you're going to smash this show," and all the big you up and the support. But it's like, yeah, great. Goes in one ear, comes out the other. I listen to the people who will critique and criticize, you know. I know there's been shows where I've done them and I've looked like a bag of shit going into the show, wasn't lean enough, wasn't ready. When you get off stage, those same people who were there blowing smoke are the ones saying, oh, you know, you were robbed. I wasn't robbed. I'm just, don't lie to me. I'm not stupid. I can see what's going on.
Yeah. I think it's mainly like the non-bodybuilder people that do that, especially for me. Like,
yeah.
I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of people, and anyone listen to this that has said this to me recently doesn't matter, but I'm talking prior, because I know there's one or two that have that this doesn't matter for him. But when I'm like, at the minute, I'm dieting down to do a show, and I know that I've got way too much fat, and I know it's going to be fucking difficult, and that's fine. Like, I'm settled into it. It is what it is. But when people are going, yeah, but look where you've come from. Yeah, I understand that. And I really appreciate that people see the journey. But at the same time, I don't give a fuck where I come from, because that doesn't help me when I'm on stage. I can't stand there and go, here I am. This is a picture of me from before.
Yeah.
Take it easy. I know I've still got fucking love handles, but look where I was. And I understand from a nice point of view from non-bodybuilding people, or, you know, people that are in the same space but they don't care about the competitive side. That's great. And I appreciate it. But at the same time, I don't give a fuck if I'm going to stand on stage. I want to look like I fit in.
Of course you do. So, yeah, of course you do. I'm going to give you an example as well. When we did the beef podcast, Z was getting ready for his first show, and I was kind of like, I was supportive. I was honest if he asked me, but I wasn't like, Z, you look like a bag of shit. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm not. He didn't ask for my criticism. I'm not going to give it to him. Whereas Dean Laziat was like, Dean, you're a fat cunt. Z, you're like, he was really fucking brutally honest with him. But Z was never trying to go for a pro card. Z wanted to just get on stage to say he could do it. And I was like, you know what, fair play to you, you've done it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And that's the thing. It's not everybody getting on stage is looking to get on stage on the Olympia stage in the future. Some people just do it because they want a challenge, or, you know, they want.
It's like me and Tom. We know we're not going to be on that. We're starting too late. Like, starting in your 30 is just going to be.
There's no point. Well, not no point, because you can enjoy it for what it is, like we were saying.
It's more for the enjoyment factor, and again, it's to try and push your body further than you think you can put it. Yeah. So it's almost like it's like what everybody should be doing. We're trying to push yourself.
Yeah. In
different ways. This will be our way of doing it, in that leisure sense kind of thing.
Yeah, but you live the life. You know, you sort of. You live the routine. It gives you the structure. If you're the type of person who needs that structure, bodybuilding works very well. But it does make people, when people get thrown out of their regime, if they haven't got the right meal, or they've eaten too, you know, they've I don't know, they haven't been able to train, or they haven't lifted. If they haven't had all of their ducks in a row, it blows their head off. Like, they can't deal with that.
Yeah.
There's that sort of, there's a balance. You know, it's you've got to live the life, but you've also got to live your life as well.
Not everybody you know is a bodybuilder, so you've got to be flexible.
Exactly. And the thing is, even with the worst in the world, just by training and eating better, you will look better than you did before. So, man, you know, you don't compare yourself to anybody else, because they're not you. You know, it is what it is. You know, just take from it what you can and enjoy it while you can. And
yeah, for sure. It's similar to Josh Bridgman said on the podcast last week. He was saying that it's an individual selfish sport. Yeah. Like Jason just said, you know, not everybody's a bodybuilder, but it's an individual selfish sport. And if you're going to do it properly. If you want to compete and go all in, do it properly, because you are sacrificing time, you know, for me and yourself, with family, with the children. And then you're also sacrificing for yourself as well, some enjoyment and things that I know, we wouldn't drink, but maybe the late nights or the things that you would just avoid doing because it might spur on temptation, or you've got training that night, so you can't go and do this or that. And
that's my biggest regret is in the earlier years, especially, sort of prioritizing bodybuilding over family time or stuff, stuff like that. There's been times where I haven't gone to a family member's because I've got to get to the gym. I've got a show in 6 weeks or whatever. That's just ridiculous. To me, if I was getting ready for the Olympia, then fair enough. But getting ready for, the Midlands qualifier or something, it's like, it's not really going to kill you not going to the gym that day. It's I don't know.
If it would help your body 6 weeks out to at least miss a session so it could recuperate a wee bit. So
yeah, probably, yeah.
Very likely.
There's people who get into this, and Steve Lewis, who got me into competing. They got the West Midlands Fire Service guy. He said, he's known people who've lost marriages, lost friendships, and all for bodybuilding. I'm like, why would you?
It should enhance your life, not make it worse.
It should. And the thing is, as well, but the thing is, being there in that hole when you are 6 weeks out and you feel irritable and you just feel knackered and your sleep's all over the place and you're not eating, I can see why people have lost relationships. But it's not a good thing to do. Not at all. It's very short-sighted. It's just, because then after the show, those same fuck-ups you've made, you've got to rectify. They're not going away. You know what I mean? That missus who you've just fucked off and she's thinks you're a dickhead. You might regret that. It might be the best thing you ever did, but you might regret it. So.
I think that's where communication kind of comes into a lot of it. Like, a lot of people nowadays will say, they'll say as they're going into their prep, by the way, I'm going into this prep, some of this time I'm going to be a crab at shit and I'm not going to want to talk to anybody. Yeah. Are you all right with this? And it's all about communication, really, with everything. It's like trying to build anything.
And I think also as well, I mean, especially something I learned with my missus, my wife, bring them along with the journey. Like, don't. Sometimes you use the gym as like your own personal time, but when that is your life, when you're getting ready for a show, and literally your whole life is not based on the show, but your eating habits, your daily routine is based on getting ready for the show. Don't mush your partner in the face. Take her along with the journey. Ask her to do your check-in videos or photos or whatever. Offer to go to the gym with her if you can do that. Ask for her opinion. Sort of say, look, what do you reckon? How am I looking then compared to now? Like, bring them along. Don't be a dick, because I've done it and it's not smart. It's not a good thing to do.
Yeah, that Tom.
I'm sure people have done that. Don't be a dick, Tom. Be nice to your missus.
Oh, fucking hell. Fortunately, she doesn't listen to this, so.
She might do.
What was I going to say? I think I haven't got any more. I've got more questions, but I don't want to ask them tonight because I think we'll end up with another 30 minutes. And although we're clearly enjoying it, and it's all right, I think nobody's going to sit and listen to a 3-hour podcast of us like that shit.
They'll probably listen to it to our accent, Tom, and be like, oh, fuck these two.
Yeah, fucking I was watching Peaky Blinders.
As long as you don't think I'm a Billy boy.
Well, we'll get you back on for another one after. But cool. Do appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us and taking the time out, especially on a fucking Sunday night. And we'll link your Instagram and any other social medias and stuff you've got in the description, and people can check you out.
I'm not really bothered about followers or Instagram or that. I'm just
what's your strong discount code?
I think it's IH10. I think I didn't have one originally, but I had a mate. This guy I'm helping over in Wales. I said, look, you need Support Max, you need Systol Max as a bare minimum. Digest Max would be good. I said, look, it depends on your budget. And he was like, oh, have you got a discount code? I was like, no. Well, message Rich. I was like, I know you don't normally do discount codes, but I was like, yeah, I'll generate you one. So it's AH10. So it was like, I don't get a kickback off it or anything. I don't get anything from it. So, which I wouldn't want anything from it. Like, I feel a bit sleazy doing that. But
yeah.
No comment. Okay then, man. Well, thanks very much, and we'll speak soon.
Speak soon. Take it easy.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Catch you in a bit.
Do it.